Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
This ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh.
Good evening, everyone watching now. Welcome to the first ever First Cut Oscars recap. As you all can see, we are all excited to get into what we just saw. I am here, obviously, with my crew, RB3 and Sabrina. We all dressed for the occasion. We all got ready.
Oh, absolutely not.
As you can see by what's on your screen right now. Either way, guys, I don't feel like we should kind of beat around the bush. I feel like we should just get into it.
Yeah.
So I want to go straight away to you, Sabrina. What is your overall reaction to the Oscars, the 93rd Academy Awards?
I think the best way to go about this is just saying overwhelming or underwhelming. There was so much hype going into this. Like, there's a lot of films that I was really excited to see for so many different reasons. And just as I was watching every single thing, I just felt like they kept dropping the ball just on little stuff, like not having it be exciting or engaging. There's not, besides the wins, there's nothing to really have this be like a form of entertainment for the night. But that ending kind of cemented it. As somebody who loves award shows and loves the Oscars and keeps up with this stuff, the thing is, this was just a huge disappointment for me. Like, it was sad to see a time when we could celebrate the best of the best in filmmaking over the last year. And some of the wins were great, but then the lows, I think, were so low. And that last moment we got, it just left the worst taste in my mouth. And I know it's only been a little bit. It's been like, what, 15 minutes since then? But yeah, I feel like that's all people are going to talk about.
What are your reactions, RB3?
Well, first of all, I did want to come in and when I was watching the award show, first of all, I did want to shout out Jesse Collins. He's one of the producers of the show, and he has done nothing but phenomenal work for various award shows over the years. Now, I'm speaking from a little bit of personal bias because I've worked for Jesse Collins in the past on many award shows, particularly BET Awards, Hip Hop Awards, like all these other things. But he's kind of elevated his career status from doing BET Awards and Hip Hop Awards to producing things like this year's Grammys, this year's halftime show, and of course this year's Oscars. Now, I was ready to come in here and say nothing but positive things because, hey, I love black creators, I love black producers, and there's just nothing seeing amazing work, and especially the presentation. I thought the presentation was amazing, but I couldn't in good gracious say that without them making the biggest fumble of all time. And I feel like, you know, because there's a lot that was leading up to this moment, right? For one, it felt like they were spreading love to all the movies. Like they were giving Ma Rainey a little love, they're giving this movie a little love, that movie a little love, but they were kind of giving them like out of order. Like I was wondering why is Best Director happening so early in the award show? Like why is Best Picture happening like even before Best Actor and Best Actress? I felt like because they knew they were setting up for quite possibly the biggest moment of the night, and that was Chadwick's wife giving the speech. The speech for him winning the award. And now that's a speech that we've been seeing a lot during the award season. We saw it in SAG, we saw it in Golden Globes, Critics' Choice Awards, and it's a very sad moment. It's a very impactful moment, particularly because of the memory of Chadwick Boseman. And I felt like they were setting it up to tee it up to honor it perfectly. But then again, it's the Academy, and you can never count out the Academy for making the same mistakes they were always going to make. Hey, listen, and the one time they actually got black creators in to do it, they were doing nothing but calling out the Academy's grievances. I don't know if y'all noticed, like even in that little Glenn Close segment that everybody loved and was making memes about, in that segment, they kind of was giving a little nudge and a little like wink at the Oscars, like, hey, y'all didn't nominate Spike Lee's song for this. Like y'all just haven't been recognizing and showing black people love all this time. And they've been kind of doing that, and they've been playfully doing that all throughout, but they haven't been actively showing up to it, and they haven't been actively giving the awards to the right people. And you know, they had a good wave right after Oscar So White happened, and right after they made some changes and started inviting more people of color and making it more diverse. But ultimately, it's still the same old Academy. It's still the same old white people that's still going to be running this stuff. I could bring up the statistics 800 million times. How much of the Academy, what's the average age of the Academy is just exponentially old. So it just makes sense that Anthony Hopkins wins it. It makes sense that the guy who won Best Actor back in 1993 for a movie where he was only in it for 10 minutes can go ahead and just steal the award from, you know, one of the greatest black actors that we have in our time, which it was all teed up to win to anyway. So I felt like there was almost a possibility, if I'm being real, I almost feel like there's a possibility that the Academy was so scared that Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis was going to win. Because I don't know if y'all know this, if Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis both won, that would have been the first time in Oscar history that a black man and a black woman would win for Best Actor and Best Actress from the same movie. It would have never happened before. So if that would have happened, that would have been scary. That would have been a scary moment, I'm sure, for a lot of these people. So, you know, all the scared old white people who are, you know, the secret, you know, conservative, you know, people at home just went, hey, like, I'm just go for Mank. I'm gonna go for Anthony Hopkins. I don't know why I say Mank. I'm not clowning Anthony Hopkins. I really didn't even see The Father. But does anybody need to see The Father to know why this is egregious? Like, come on, man. This is Chadwick Boseman we're talking about, the GOAT, the great, one of the greatest. I don't know, man. I'm sorry for ranting for so long. I'm sorry, y'all.
On a production level, what do you feel about them possibly knowing how it was going to end and still ending that way? Do you feel like that's the case? I feel like that's the case.
You know, it's funny because I feel like a lot of the award show, I mean, personally, they always say like, nobody knows the results until like after the you know, things are like announced or whatever, or after, you know, they say like, oh, we don't know the awards until after they're open, and only people who know is like the accounting company. For me, I was partially thinking like partially through this award show, I didn't know if that was true or not, because there's sometimes where it's like too convenient that a transition led on to a win. Like it was too convenient that, what was it? I feel like there was a time where a movie won 2 awards like back to back, like in the same like commercial break, and they never won like any other awards other time. I can't remember what 2 categories that was. I don't remember. And there's another time where Judas and the Black Messiah had just won Best Original Song, and it transitioned straight to Lil Rel doing his bit. So those times I was like, oh, it seems a little too convenient. I don't know. But I mean, at this ending it this way, just at least very much shows me that wasn't the case. And, you know, we at least know there wasn't no like kind of Oscar switcheroo thingy, like the La La Land or Moonlight thing, like, you know how that was like a conspiracy theory for like 2 seconds. At least we know like that's not happening in this case, because like, you know, he just said the winner and they just ended it. Like, they just cut it off and kept it going. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know.
I feel like they have to know. There has to be someone that knows on a production level. And if that's the case, if you do know, how can you end it like that? How can you be like, oh, the winner is Anthony Hopkins. Oh, and he's not here. So have a good night, you guys. Hope you had fun. And I was like, why? Why? We can't end it like this. That's terrible.
It just is so crazy. Like, they genuinely dropped the fattest ball ever right at the end. It's like, if you did have any inkling of something like this happening, maybe don't build all of this up to this huge moment where you're going to celebrate an actor after they had passed. Because now that we did give it to Anthony Hopkins, and I want to like go off of kind of what you said, RB3. You said like you didn't see The Father, so obviously you can't talk about that. But like, I saw it. It was great. But was it worth this? Like, no, I don't think so. I do think it's because it's like I said before with Gary Oldman, Anthony Hopkins. These are veteran actors who have been at this for a while. People enjoy them and everything. That's why Glenn Close was nominated for Hillbilly Elegy. If you saw that, you know she shouldn't have been nominated for Hillbilly Elegy.
Yeah, but that's...
Like, he's great.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thing. And I see some people in the chat saying that too, being like, how could you say he didn't deserve it if you haven't seen the movie? I mean, as someone who saw it, Sabrina, you saw it, I saw it.
Yeah.
He's great. He's great in the movie. So is Chadwick Boseman. So is Riz Ahmed. So is Steven Yeun. That's not the point. Like that, everyone's like, oh, he deserved 100% if you saw the movie. We did see the movie, and we're still saying should still be Chadwick Boseman. That's just.
And if it's not Chadwick Boseman, like, give it to Riz Ahmed, give it to Steven. Everybody else was just 1,000 times more exciting. Yes. There were so many more interesting performances. His was great. His was moving. His was impactful. Yeah, but it didn't reach the level. It didn't reach the level of something like Riz Ahmed or Steven or Chadwick Boseman in this one. This was the moment for Chadwick Boseman to get this award, and leading up to all of that and having the conclusion that we did. And yeah, he's not even like, obviously this is a completely different time right now. It's not like disrespectful that he's not there, but this huge moment, everything's leading up to, it's like, all right, we're done. Peace. You know? And it just felt so off for so many reasons. And yeah, I am just absolutely mind blown at how we get one of the best performances ever. Also, Delroy Lindo not being nominated. That's another thing that we talked about when we did our live stream talking about the nominations. Delroy Lindo gave one of the best performances of this year, no matter what, and wasn't even nominated, but someone like Gary Oldman was. We see this all the time with the people who get love consistently. They're going to be nominated even for like mid-tier roles, just stuff that's like, if you think about Anthony Hopkins, you're not going to think about The Father in 10 years. But when you think about Chadwick Boseman, you are going to think about Black Panther and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, what he did with this film. And that's what's important. It's when we look back, because we're supposed to be reflecting the best of the year.
And it's always, go ahead, RB3.
Oh, no, you go.
No, I was just going to say, it is that kind of idea of giving it to like Anthony Hopkins because he's an older guy, he's a legend, and it's so outdated, man. Can we stop doing that?
He's not. The thing is, he's already won.
That's what I'm saying.
Won.
But that's what I'm saying is like, they're always like, oh, we got to give it to Hopkins. He was, it's Hopkins, and it's like, did you even see The Father? Did you even like? Do people even know what The Father is? Like, there's never an attention to that kind of detail. And when we're all on the same level as far as like performances, it's always a question of like, well, it's clearly better. It's like, is it though? Like, there's always going to be performances that are on the same level. So when we give it to a person, let's make sure we keep other things in check and in account. And obviously the passing of Chadwick Boseman was one of those things. But at the same time, like Sabrina said, if you gave it to Steven or Riz Ahmed, I would have been cool with it. It's one of those things where it's not necessarily giving it to someone else that hasn't died. It's more like giving it to someone who's not there, giving it to an older guy who's like a million years old.
Who already has one.
Who already has one. He's been acting for 50 years. Whatever the case is, he has his legendary status set. It's made, it's done. So this is another time to give it to someone who maybe doesn't have that. Just like you said, Sabrina, Black Panther and Oscar winner for Best Actor, Chadwick Boseman, would have been like a mic drop on the whole thing.
And it's not even just giving it to him.
Yeah,
it's not even just giving it to him. Like after he had passed, to celebrate him, this was so incredible. It's not like, oh, just give it to Chadwick.
Amazing, yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. And the second everybody saw that, they're like, he is the front runner. There was no question about it. They were so confident in it that they had a moment like this. It is just genuinely so crazy because I thought there was a lot of really great moments to celebrate, like Yoo Jong-yoon from getting it for Minari. There's moments like that, but then things like this, it's just not going to sit right with a lot of people, and it's not going to look great when we look back in history. And a good performance, a great performance from Anthony Hopkins is celebrated and remembered like this over something that is genuinely monumental and so moving and iconic. It's going to be something that people remember going forward. It's just extremely disappointing having that type of ending with this beautiful, intimate setting of the Oscars. I love the way that it looked. I thought it looked really cool to have everybody just so close together, and it feels warm and comforting to see people celebrate their art in this way. But having that ending was like the coldest thing possible.
Yeah, and I see a comment in the chat saying that getting upset over an award is silliness. We're not upset. We're just pointing out the part that didn't work, and it's okay to point out something that didn't work, considering we're doing an actual post-Oscars award show. This is what we do when we go on an award show. What to talk about is how we feel about how the award show went, how it ended, and who the awards were to. It's not upset.
Yeah.
We're not going to lose sleep over this, fam.
Yeah.
It's just what we're talking about. Like, chill.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we're talking about it, but I do think there is a level of upset to be had over the fact that, like you said, Ace, like, you know, like you were saying, like, why not recognize somebody who has a future, who has a legacy to go forward? We're talking about a year where, I'm just looking this up right now. Apparently, Anthony Hopkins is supposed to be the oldest Oscar winner in that category for the male actor category now. Yeah. And we're talking about in the same year that, you know, we have the oldest, who is that? The costume designer for Ma Rainey, Anne Roth, is like the oldest woman to ever win an Oscar, 89. Like, we just keep building these records of like oldness. What about the future? What about the next generation? What about breaking that ground and awarding the filmmakers who are gonna awarding the filmmakers and the actors who are gonna make that next leap? And they did a good job of that with Chloe Zhao, with obviously with Nomadland, but even that is still like the sleepy old people movie to some extent. I mean, even Frances McDormand winning Best Actress is like, bro, come on, how many does she need? She has 3. Like, we're talking. Why do we need to keep just continuously giving the love to the same type of people, to the same people every single time? I don't know. It's just shameful. It's sad. I'm glad to see that there's shakeups in smaller categories. Like, we could get small victories. Like, yay, we get the first Black woman ever to win like best makeup and hairstyling. But dang, doesn't that sound pathetic too? Like, in 93 years of Academy history, we don't have a single Black woman who's won best makeup. Are you kidding me? Is that a joke? Like, that's humiliating.
Second woman to win Best Director. Second
in
woman
all
the years.
In all these years. Yeah. And we're talking about Chadwick Boseman, who I think we're talking about in the conversation for being the 5th, 6th Black man to win Best Actor, and Viola Davis, who would have been the 2nd or 3rd. Like, well, this isn't even like, we're not even having like rational conversations when we're talking about race inside of the Academy Awards, because this is unprofound. This is unbelievable. Imagine if any other awards show, imagine if the Grammys just completely excluded Black music, when almost all of the most talented people in music, you know, are Black, when the origins of music come from Black people. Look at the great performances that we're seeing. Look at the legacy that Denzel Washington was handing down to Chadwick Boseman, and who they even joke about in like I said, they make more jokes about things they messed up on. They joke about, oh, you like to Dan Kaluuya, oh, you evoke Malcolm, Denzel Washington and Malcolm X. Yeah, but they didn't give him the Oscar. They didn't give him the Oscar. Who would they give it to? Al Pacino? Like, dog, we're gonna keep giving it. They're gonna keep giving us pass on the heads. They're gonna keep saying, hey, here's Best Supporting Actor. Hey, Mahershala Ali, you're the greatest of all time, but you're gonna keep winning Best Supporting Actor every time. Hey, all these, like, they're just gonna keep patting black people in the head, and they're never gonna let us move forward unless we demand action to move forward. And, I thought change with having like a cool producer, Jesse Collins behind it would be super dope. But I mean, this is sad. Like this whole setting it up at the end and just building people's hopes up to have this moment just to be crushed. That's disappointing, man. That's pathetic. It's pathetic.
I definitely, I think we're all on the same page there. I still want to talk a little bit about the show itself. How did you guys feel as the show itself when it comes to everything else that took place, whether it be the production, whether it be the flow, everything else that happened? What do you think, Sabrina?
I thought it mostly worked. Like I said, there was just kind of moments where it was going a little slow. It wasn't as engaging, but I did, like I said before, I did like to see this like really warm environment, not necessarily like a stage with a light. The entire room was kind of lit up, which is like weird sometimes, and kind of like took me out of it. But it's like everybody's just around each other. It's not like, oh, this one person wins and they get up and they have the spotlight. I really did like the way that looked. Like I said, we had obviously like the music segment that RB3's mentioned a bunch of times. We had that. Love that. I thought that was a lot of fun. I honestly wish we had something like that sprinkled throughout a little bit more, just like more engaging stuff where we can kind of celebrate film, talk about areas where we might have went wrong with certain people that were nominated or whatever, just talking about the history of cinema and everyone's love for cinema. I feel like if we had things like that, it kind of would have rolled a little bit better for me, just because it felt very much so like, okay, award, done, next award, done, next one, rather than like a nice, easy transition that feels organic. It did feel like we had these like segments of moments. So it mostly worked for me, but I just wish it had like a little bit more energy.
Can I point something out? This is one of the first award shows, Oscars, I mean, that didn't quite, that basically finished on time, that didn't have that crazy time gap that we usually do, where Oscars are known for finishing at least an hour late, if not more. I remember there was one Oscars recently that was like an hour and a half late, but they're obsessed with, making sure let's try and finish on time. Let's do our best to try and finish on time. And that's kind of what the producers are thinking behind the scenes. And I'm telling you, as someone who's, and you can attest to this too, RB3, you don't want to be that late in an award show. You just don't want to. So they're obsessed with going as quick as possible. I know a lot of people in the chat have pointed out the In Memoriam segment where that felt super rushed. It literally felt like someone was pushing fast forward on the control and watching it on fast forward. What do you sacrifice in exchange for like, hey, we kind of finished on time. It wasn't 4.5 hours. How do you guys feel about that? Because instead of making it kind of what you're saying, Sabrina, a show that has a little bit of variety, has a little bit of like segments here and there, but then it's like 4.5 hours, or a show that's kind of boring. If we're being honest, that's kind of what I saw today, but they're able to finish on time and not drag like other Oscars have. What do you think of that, RB3?
The biggest thing is, and I hate to say it, y'all, they gotta cut down these speeches. They gotta do something about these speeches. It was, but then you look bad. But
how do you do that though? Because then you look bad as someone who's you're gonna cut off Daniel Kaluuya when he's giving a speech. You're gonna.
Daniel Kaluuya was reasonable. I mean, if you have some energy, if you're like, listen, you gotta make a judgment call. It can't be about time. It gotta be about judgment call.
Pushing that music button on Kaluuya's speech,
honestly, like any of them really, like you can't press smaller awards.
You definitely can't press a button, but oh my gosh, I wanted to cut it off after the first 30 minutes. The sound was terrible. It sounded like I was in an ethereal vacuum cleaner, like just listening to a bunch of brr, brr, brr. And then like while they're speaking about like a bunch of nothing. And I love the embrace of like the atmosphere and like how echoey, like the whole place looked. It made it look big and grandeur and all that stuff. But there was a part of me that I was like, man, if maybe they just put a little extra music behind it, or maybe if they just made it something that was a little more lively to put underneath it, because it just felt like dry speech after dry speech
energy.
after dry speech. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not particularly saying like cut off speeches. I'm saying maybe organize them. Maybe have people submit their speeches ahead of time, put in a little teleprompter thingy, and and that's 2 minutes. Like, you can only have this much you could say, like literally this many words you could say, and it's in the teleprompter. You got to say it and get out. Like, that's to me is the solution. It's not like cutting them off. It's at least figuring out some way to get the speeches in a more organized way, because some of these people are rambling. Now, some of them are great, but literally, to me, this was not even like any good memorable speeches besides the editor from Sound of Music. I thought his speech was great, because the very first thing.
Kaluuya's speech.
I like his speech too. It was weird, but
It was
Vinterberg.
it's fine.
Vinterberg for another round. International, yeah. That one was really great. I like what you bring up with that stuff, kind of keeping it more organized so it doesn't feel messy. Like I said, it's like they went too much with the organized, where they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna let you talk for whatever. We're gonna cut this off. We have nothing in between. We didn't have musical performances, anything to kind of get that energy up. And I feel like this would have been an amazing year. Imagine Leslie Odom Jr., her, other people performing even like remotely, like somewhere else during these awards, even like pre-taping it. Like, who cares? It doesn't need to be live necessarily. Just like having that energy up a little bit. There's only a few songs. I think that would have been very lovely to have. But yeah, again, it's like those engaging moments with the audience, stuff for us to continue to talk about, rather than just, oh, we're giving out awards 24/7. So yes, they kept it on a time limit, but at what cost? At not a lot of memorable moments. We have like Glenn Close like shaking her ass, which, hell yeah, that's fun. But that's one of the only times, like something like this, it's always, and somebody in the chat saying like giving the award to Chadwick Boseman isn't looking towards the future. I would respectfully disagree, because I feel like Chadwick is 100% paving a specific direction from Black Panther, from what that did in theaters and all these other things. Going forward, this is something that people are always going to talk about. Black Panther, Chadwick's career as a whole, what he had to go through, being in some of the highest like grossing box office hits of all time, being this iconic character, meaning so much to so many people. That's something where Chadwick is a perfect example of somebody who didn't even get to receive their flowers, even when they were alive, and now that after they passed, because in that in memoriam, we thought we were going to see it again with his win, but in that in memoriam, he's on screen for 1 second with this weird upbeat song. That's all we got to celebrate the life of Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Arbiter.
Oh, and yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Like, I mean, and when I say looking towards the future, when I'm talking about in the respects of like Chadwick Boseman, it's not just about Chadwick Boseman as the individual. It's about what his legacy represents. People who are children, like they had little screenings for Black Panther for kids who were in school when this movie was coming out. School children were seeing
theaters for them,
brought out theaters for kids to see Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa be an inspiration, be a role model for something to aspire to, look forward to the future. And that's just something that goes beyond the Black Panther character. That's just going through Chadwick Boseman's entire career, whether that is through 42, whether that is through Jackie Robinson, or that's through James Brown and Get On Up, or if that's through the Thurgood Marshall movie as well. And more particularly, it's important to honor that legacy while there's still an opportunity. There's never, ever going to be a chance to give Chadwick Boseman an Oscar again. There's not. You give Anthony Hopkins an Oscar on the next movie if you want to, because he's still here. He's still around. He didn't even show up to the award show because he didn't feel like it. He literally he probably felt like Chadwick should have won. I'm sure when they do like the morning shows or whatever, and they call him and ask him about it, he's probably gonna be like, yeah, I thought Chadwick was gonna win. I was gonna stay at home. Like, fam, this is what this was gonna represent. It's representing something bigger than the individual actor. It's representing a legacy that his legacy is gonna meant to be carried on with. The fact that he hadn't been nominated for Get On Up, the fact that he hadn't been nominated for 42, the fact that Black Panther got all the love in the world but still didn't win the big prize, didn't win Best Picture. He didn't get nominated for Best Actor for that. Like, this was going to be that shining light, this shining moment for his entire career. And that's what I mean, looking forward to the future, awarding that, promoting that, showing that black people and black voices can do that kind of thing, especially in the time period that we're in now. So.
Yeah, and I really do feel like it's also something to be said about what Sabrina was saying too, when it comes to like big, massive films that touch so many lives and so many kids and inspire so many kids. And then on top of that, you can say, hey, this is what I'm able to do with commercial success, which is awesome and it's great and it's powerful. But I'm an actor. And I kill my roles and I do what I do because I'm good at it. I'm not just a superhero who rips their shirt off and does some cool flexes at the camera. I'm an actual actor who can act my ass off and I can win awards, the biggest award of all, which is the Oscar. So it is significant in that sense because of the stereotype that we have of superhero actors and actors who are doing big movies. They suck at acting, but they do this. But then when they're in a real movie, they're going to be terrible. And that's what you're trying to do as well. So this is also like a commercial versus indie thing where you're showing, hey, Chadwick Boseman is so good. He can do both. He's an Oscar winner and he's Black Panther. That's very significant to me.
Yeah. And I didn't want to, just before I forget real quick, Philly Punt put in a super chat earlier. Hey, First Cut crew, stay safe. This started off great, but cashed and burned. Anthony Hopkins deserved the Oscar, but man, this was stupid. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the Oscar, but come on, you didn't have to do the whole thing at the end. You didn't have to build up to this moment.
Can we talk about making Best Actor the last award? Obviously, we're kind of colored in our vision when we say we already have our opinions set, but wasn't that kind of weird? Is that the only one who was like,
literally
even if it was
sense.
Chadwick Boseman, I'd still be like, this is still kind of weird.
Every single person.
Wiley_Todd donated $5. First of all, Chadwick Boseman losing is bullshit and I'm pissed. But question for Sabrina, please tell me you're hyped for Mainstream, the new Andrew Garfield movie.
Yes, definitely not going to be talked about in awards consideration, but hey, Gia Coppola, Andrew Garfield, 100%, I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Exciting.
What were you going to say, Sabrina? I'm sorry.
Okay, so there's a lot of things like
I was talking about Best Picture being not at the end and Best Actor being
okay. Yeah, so freaking weird because all of us, I had, obviously I live with Brandon and Alex Marzonio was here to watch the Oscars. So all of us are sitting here, I'm texting with you guys and then we're like, did we miss something? Like, did something happen? Also, I found out that I guess they did a lot of the songs in like the pre-show. I did not watch the pre-show, unfortunately. I was running errands. So I would have liked to see it during the actual show. I feel like that energy could have got better, but the fact that they switched this around was so weird because it felt like something was off. So then as they're talking about Best Picture, I'm seeing everybody tweeting out so confused, like, hey, did they skip acting awards? Did they do this? Even if it was Chadwick, I do understand that you want this big grand moment, but I think ending the show on Best Actor, and also because of how it actually did end, is such a weird move and doesn't really make any sense. Because Best Picture is that one. When Parasite won, whatever wins Best Picture, it's this huge moment. This is the movie of the past year. So ending on an actor and then Anthony Hopkins and an actor that is not even there, there's no moment. You just end on a flat note. Yeah. So it's just an odd choice. I don't know what they were thinking with this. Yeah,
I think they were thinking Chadwick's wife is going to give a great speech and this will be a cool moment to honor him.
Even then,
I agree. Even then, it would have been weird. Even then, it would have been like, oh, that's cool, but why not Best Picture? Why is Best Picture so early right now? Let's kind of turn the conversation a little bit to anything that we did like, whether it is a win that we liked, a surprise win maybe. What do you think, RB3?
I don't know if there's any surprise wins that I liked, if I'm being honest with you.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, I felt like Sound of Metal was a good happy surprise for winning Best Editing, but I felt like that was
over Nomadland.
I did feel like Sound of Metal was the best edited out of those nominees.
I thought you told me it was Nomadland.
Well, I'd probably say they're different editing styles for sure. They're very different editing styles for sure. I really enjoy seeing that. I loved his speech, and I want to talk about his speech a little bit because he. That's probably the moment that I really enjoyed the most. Like him going. The first thing, if you pay attention to his speech, the first thing he said was like, he gave thanks to his country. He gave thanks to the country of Denmark for funding free film school, which he said gave him the opportunity to become an editor and ultimately win an Academy Award. Now I don't know why people. I don't know if people like truly understand. Like when he said that moment, like nobody clapped at the award show or anything like that. But I like stood up and started clapping immediately because what that means is that is essentially what capitalism is supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be, hey, with a little help, you can get to the ultimate top. You get to rise to the top, but you need some help. You need some decent backing. And you need some social programs. And in the case of Denmark, they have social programs that allow for free funding of public education and allows for people to go to film school for free. And I think that's brilliant. That's just such a really, really cool thing to shout out, especially here in America. Like that's such a foreign, unacceptable concept for us in the United States. But yet if you watch documentaries, like if you watch Michael Moore's documentary, Where to Invade Next, shout out to Cade Hughesby, he put me onto that documentary big time. Who goes to different countries and they show you like, yeah, all these other countries have free college, free extended vacation time, like all these other things to make livelihood better. And these are just not things that America has. So I hope that maybe somebody's watching. I know nobody watching is ever going to talk about this subject, especially on the news or on YouTube or whatever does Oscar recaps. But that's awesome to me. I think that's that's one of the most brilliant ways to highlight the positive impact of social programs, of funding communities, of funding just the basic necessities that we need but don't have in the United States.
Yeah, for sure. What is a moment that you liked, Sabrina, or maybe a win that you liked, a surprise win?
I did like seeing Emerald Fennell get the award for Best Original Screenplay. I loved basically every single one nominated. I think 100% deserved it. But it was just great to see her energy that she brought to this win. And it just shows like anybody watching, it's just a touching moment that this filmmaker just comes out with this film. I feel she talked about how she like wrote the screenplay in 2018. And then a few years later, like all your dreams can pan out. And this is a film. Another thing I want to talk about as I'm saying this is how Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always didn't fit with like what the Academy voters go for. So that movie was completely shut out. There was even that email that was sent to Eliza Hittman that was so disrespectful. But did you not know? An Academy voter emailed Eliza Hittman and said, "I will not be watching this movie. This goes against every one of my beliefs." And it was like an 80-year-old director. And that's exactly what we're talking about with a lot of these older people. They won't even give something a chance to learn a perspective that they don't agree with or want to see. So then a film like Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, that is so freaking beautiful, is my favorite film of the past year, basically, is completely shut out. But Promising Young Woman was this way to kind of speak about these important issues and topics that we talk about in Hollywood. We talk about in the workplace, no matter where you work. This is prevalent everywhere as a woman. So to see this type of story be celebrated genuinely made me really happy. And Emerald Fennell is a young woman. She has a whole huge career ahead of her. Seeing her get original screenplay and then Chloe Zhao get director. Again, everybody nominated for director, I would be happy. Lee Isaac Chung, whoever it may be, but seeing Chloe Zhao be the second woman to get that award in the history of the Oscars, and deservingly so. That's the thing. It's not choosing, oh, we need to nominate this woman or we need to celebrate this Black actor or this other actor. It's not about that. It's about honoring the people who genuinely deserve the awards. That's the thing. It's like, you cannot watch these films and say Chloe Zhao did not deserve this. She didn't get the award just because she's a woman. She got the award because she's talented as hell. But a lot of the times, talented as hell women, Regina King being one of them this past year, sometimes just don't get those accolades. And that's something that I think we're going to see change, hopefully, going forward. So it's not about just handing it to people because we want to hit a quota or we want to whatever. It's actually giving it to the people who are deserving of it. And that was my whole point with Chadwick as well. But Chloe Zhao getting it, Emerald Fennell, obviously Ye Jung-yoon for Minari. That's all amazing to see. Her speech was hilarious.
Yeah,
her interactions with Brad Pitt. That's the kind of speech that I absolutely love to watch, because it's like we're getting a little glimpse into her personality, somebody who we don't know. We just saw her in the film. She's not an A-list actor like a Margot Robbie or whatever. And getting a little bit of her personality and seeing how exciting it was to give this award to somebody who, again, 100% completely deserved it. Having Minari get that love, Sound of Metal, that's another one. These films of stories that you don't understand and you don't know until you're put into that perspective. These are some of the most important stories of the past year, and I love to see them get that love.
Yeah, I feel like there's quite a few surprises in the smaller categories, like RB3 was saying earlier. Emerald Fennell is obviously a fun win for her because she definitely worked hard on that screenplay and directed her own film, which I think is another remarkable effort. I'm still fascinated by that video I sent you, Sabrina, where she talks about how the producers had to talk her out of her ending, essentially because she wrote a different screenplay beforehand, or the first cut of the screenplay. Was something that was completely different than what we saw in the film. I thought that was a fun story too. I just feel like there's a conversation to be had here, and I feel like a lot of people focus on the award show themselves versus maybe focusing on what the films are, right? And I feel like a lot of people didn't see these films, and as much as we want to convince ourselves that maybe they did, I don't think they did. I don't think a lot of people saw Nomadland, to be fair, and it's a Best Picture winner. I don't think a lot of people saw The Father, and it won Best Actor.
Nobody saw The Father.
Nobody saw The Father. And I think that's a problem. I talked to you about this last year, RB3, when we had that conversation where I said, I still feel like there's this disconnect between commercial movies and what is good versus like Oscar. And it's always like the most obscure, tiny, itty bitty, independent movie that they don't really have a way to get out to people or promote it to people. And it's not about the movie not being high quality or the movie not being commercial enough for other people to enjoy. I'm sure if they saw Nomadland, they probably love Nomadland. Or if they saw other movies, they would enjoy it. But the fact is, when it comes to marketing budget, when it comes to actually putting the movie where someone can find it in theaters, for example, where obviously this last year doesn't count, but that's always an issue when it comes to, hey, I want to see this movie. Oh, it's not playing in my state. Oh, it's not even playing in my entire district as far as like in the country. And it's difficult to find these films. And I just feel like that's always going to be the disconnect between why Oscar viewers are leaving and why the numbers are going down and why people are just not tuning in, because these aren't the movies they've seen. They just haven't seen these movies. I think people haven't seen these movies. I think, frankly, people don't care about these movies or the Oscars in general. I feel like most people just kind of. Don't you think like if a lot of people saw Sound of Metal, they would have loved it? Like if this was playing in theaters, I think
Minari. I think for sure. I mean, I think they try. I think these particular times make it hard for people to even want to see movies, like particularly movies about like deafness and
sadness and losing your job and that's depression and losing your husband
and that's always what Oscar movies are. That's what all these Oscar movies are. That's what every single one of these Oscar movies are.
Shouldn't that be different though?
It should be. I mean, it should be different. I mean, if there were deserving awards that had a more positive message, I'd be more than enthusiastic to see them award that. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's definitely. Yeah, I mean, One Night Miami is definitely a good one, and they definitely
that would have been Best Picture winner to me. I mean, I put it as my number one of the year, but come on now,
right? I mean, but they didn't even nominate it. I mean,
they didn't even nominate it.
And again, look what they choose to nominate: Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a great film. I think that's probably the most pro-black of the potential like contenders that they could have put up there, and especially considering that it had all black production crew. Also, shout out to the Lucas brothers. I did not know the Lucas twins.
Didn't know that.
No, I did not know that. I did not know they wrote this. They are hilarious comedians. If you look up, they have like a cartoon together, the Lucas Brothers cartoons. It's absolutely hilarious. Like they're
in
great.
22 Jump Street.
And 22 Jump Street,
Yeah.
amazing guys. I had no idea they wrote the script.
I listened to so many Shaka King interviews. I think I told you, remember? I listened to like a ton, and he talked about the creation of that film. It's fascinating. If you guys just look up a little bit of what he has talked about in other interviews, it is so fascinating the way he found like other scripts of the movie, and he brought on one of the writers of the other Fred Hampton script. It's really a fascinating way of how he got the movie made, from like literally his idea to like, oh, there's other people who had this idea, to the Lucas brothers coming to him, to going to Ryan when he just brought it up in a conversation, and then Ryan reaching that fame from Black Panther, helping him get the budget for Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Went from Black Panther to Black Panther. Hey.
There you go. There you go. What do you think, Sabrina? Do you feel like the nominees should be any different, or there should be a focus on getting these movies out a little bit better?
I'm love that we're kind of seeing last year and this year the death of like the Oscar baity type of film, because any other year we have Trial of Chicago 7, we have the Hillbilly Elegies, they're sprinkled throughout, but they didn't get any love today. They did not get any love. Yeah. And also there's a very small amount of them even getting nominated in general. We're seeing stuff like Minari, Promising Young Woman, Nomadland, and none of those I would consider to be the generic.
Sure. But they still end on they still end on a negative note, though, a few of them.
Whoa, okay, obviously, but I'm talking about full on like Oscar bait. I'm not saying like a feel good movie necessarily.
Sure. You're talking
I'm just
about
saying
like
like
Mank.
Oscar bait. Yes. Mank is like another really great example about how like, yes, this is the perfect formula to get
about Hollywood, black and white.
It's not a bad movie.
It's an old dude.
Yeah. And it's not a bad movie necessarily, but it's definitely something that, you know, the Academy is going to be notorious for having an interest in. Yeah. David Fincher, like Aaron Sorkin doing anything, of course he's going to get nominated for a screenplay. I thought he was going to take it. But I love that throughout the past few years, we are seeing way more like exciting films. We saw Parasite, Jojo Rabbit, all these other films last year that I just find to be way more interesting. And like, I don't know if it's because we didn't have the theatrical experience. I do know obviously a lot of these have limited releases, but because we didn't have the theatrical experience, people weren't getting a chance to see some of these films. It's like a VOD or it's whatever. There's a lot of barriers you kind of have to go through in order to watch these. So I loved having ones like Sound of Metal or other ones that dropped on Prime. So all you had to do was have a subscription, because I believe it was AMC last year was like showing Parasite in a lot of places, like a pretty decent release of Parasite. So you have no excuse. If you want to go watch Parasite, then and if it's in your area, you'd be able to, you know. It does make it feel elite when like really like elitist and stuff like that in terms of art, when people aren't able to check out the films that they want to check out because of the location that they live in or whatever.
And those are the ones they nominate,
accessible
which makes you feel even more excluded.
Yeah. Exactly. And if people feel excluded and they're not into any of the films, I've heard a lot of people on Twitter and stuff like that say that they're typically into the Oscars, but this is the first year that they haven't seen most of the films. And I get that, because this past year is a completely different story as well. Like I said, we didn't have theaters. Also, we're inside. We're all stressed out. Guess what? I love sad stuff, so I'm down to watch A Portrait of a Lady on Fire during the pandemic on Hulu or whatever. Yeah. I'm down to watch A Sound of Metal, but some people are not into that type of thing. To watch something sad.
I'm one of those people. I can honestly say that if someone's like, hey man, you want to watch this story about this lady who loses her husband and then loses her job and has a crazy life, and I'm just like, not really, if I'm being honest. Like I'm not in the mood. I'd rather watch like something else, man. And it's one of those things where I think there still has to be a coming together between the two distinctions of a commercial successful film and what people feel is quality film as far as in the Academy Awards. And I think there's something there that starts to brew up, but I feel like people end up not paying attention to what's good. Like if I gave you the name of a very popular film and you're an Academy member, you're going to scoff at me and go, ugh, not that movie. I watch these movies. And it's like, it's the same thing. It's a movie. It's a film. If it's quality, it's quality. It shouldn't matter if it's successful or if more people like it. or if more people have seen it, to be honest. I don't know. I just think it's there.
Well, I think. I mean, I think even more. I think even more so when you talk about like who can like really relate to these movies. You know, I think Minari is quite a relatable movie to for a lot of people, but I don't think a lot of people want to watch subtitles. To be honest, I mean, if I'm being real, I think a lot of like the average at-home movie watcher is not trying to watch like a subtitle movie, and beyond that, there's not a lot of other people in these like can relate to or can see themselves reflected in a lot of these choices. I mean, I could see besides maybe, and again, goes back to why the Academy is so old and why they give people like Anthony Hopkins Oscars, but except for something like The Father, which probably I'm sure a lot of people in the Academy could relate to because they probably dealt with something like Alzheimer's and aging and things like that. That's something that probably a lot of them have dealt with and saw and experienced firsthand, which is something that a lot of people in Americans have experienced firsthand, but that's not what people are looking for from cinema. People are, for the most part, looking for escapism, looking for something energetic, something to invigorate their emotions, to feel enticed. And even though I love movies like No Man's Land and I love movies like Minari and I love movies like all of those films, even the most like positive of the Best Picture nominees, I couldn't even like with a straight face sit down to like an optimistic person and be like, hey, like let's watch this on our day off of work together, Like, and granted, I don't know what options like could have been that. I mean, I personally, people joke, but I would have put Tenet up there, Soul is also a good one, but even Soul, when it comes to like animated films, that's probably the most melancholy of the nominees too, right? I love Soul. I love it. I think it's great. But I think even for most people who watch Pixar movies, even they're like, wow, this is the most like somber, melancholy like Pixar movie I've ever seen. So
but then also I like what you said because people aren't seeing the films that they watch throughout the year. So when we have really cool performances, like last year during the Cuddy Awards, which our one this year is coming soon, but last year in the Cuddy Awards, we gave Lupita Nyong'o the award for Best Actress. Yeah. She was in a film that a lot of people saw versus like a Portrait of a Lady on Fire or one of those types of films. People did see us and it was a success in that way. Same thing with Get Out the year before. These are the performances and these are the actors that you should be highlighting. Somebody like a Toni Collette in Hereditary. Who cares if it's a freaking genre film? Who cares if it's not the first thing that you think
Academy
of when you
hates
think of an
it.
Oscar?
They hate it.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it is. And it's weird. And it's always going to be a subject of conversation. But I really do feel like when people talk about ratings and when they talk about like the Oscars are dead, the Oscars suck. And I'm like, yeah, they do. But it's also like if we could start to bring it up, if we start to open our mind a little bit, I'm not saying like give it to like whatever made the most money. I'm just saying like start to look at other films differently, like genre films, like big popular movies. I think that would help. Any final thoughts, guys? Because I do want to wrap up that we're getting to the end of our conversation here on the Academy Awards this year.
Well, I love seeing her win an Oscar for.
Loved it. I love her, man. I love her so much.
Yeah, she's amazing. Great. She's awesome. Shout out to that. I also loved seeing Regina King being the one to walk out at the very beginning. Yeah, I felt like that was dynamic. That was dope. Overall, like I said, the presentation was awesome. Shout out to Jesse Collins. Shout out to Steven Soderbergh as well. I'm sure also contributed to the look and feel of it. And I think visually it looked great. I think sonically, I think the echo was a little bit too much. It made it a little weird and ethereal and definitely made it feel a little more boring than probably it actually was. But I love seeing Questlove up there. I love the new trailer for his documentary that they debuted. I love seeing the trailer for In the Heights as well. West Side Story, not so much. Kind of feels like robotic and kind of like Spielberg just sleepwalking through it like he's kind of been doing lately. Yeah, I don't know. And
it is a teaser, so hopefully we'll like the next thing that they show us, you know.
Yeah, I'm just, I already know what it's gonna be. I already see it now. He got the same like blowed out, like washed cinematography he's using, and like everything he's made over the past 10 years. You just know he doesn't care. He doesn't care. The camera, he's doing the same camera tricks he's been doing for 10 years. It's over, man. Forget it. I love Spielberg, but come on, dog. Give it up, man. Hang up the cap. We love you, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything from you, Sabrina?
Yeah, I mean, I echo the same thing RB3 said. I'm very, very excited for In the Heights. I loved having that moment. See, that was like something that was like a pick me up during the ceremony, genuinely seeing that trailer, having that energy there, because yeah, it kind of just felt a little dull. Even the moments that were like highs, I would just hit that point for a second and then we'd get right back to it being dull again. So I am somebody who absolutely loves the Oscars. I love award season. Like, I am not here to just say negative stuff about the Oscars to say negative stuff. This is something that I absolutely love. I just feel like this was a letdown. This was a disappointment. I hope they can kind of get things back on track next year, and just how they're going to alter like requirements, all the different things for eligibility. I'm excited to see what we're going to get next year, because unfortunately there's not too much that I really want to dwell on. I saw somebody in the chat and I 100% agree. Chloe and Nomadland 100% deserve their awards. Frances, she has like a film that's coming out literally like later this year with the Coen brothers and stuff like that. And it's like, she's going to get the award again. It's
kind of, I'm kind of over it, if I'm being honest.
I want to see Sydney Flanagan or someone like that. Like, she wasn't, Sydney Flanagan wasn't even nominated.
Or Viola Davis. Yeah.
Any, like, so much other talent to love. And I do think, like, no offense, like, I really do think that what Viola did just as a performance was much more profound than a lot of the other ones, even Carey Mulligan in a lot of moments. That's who I was really supporting to win, was Viola. But yeah, it's just, I guess we'll have to wait for next year.
I guess I just feel like there's going to come a point where the Academy is going to have to make a decision if they're going to want to switch things up, or they're going to be completely and utterly irrelevant to where I don't even know what they're going to do, if this is even going to be worth all the money they put into this, if no one's going to watch it. If I'm being honest.
I did want to shout out real quick though. Shout out to the winner for best animated short film. That was If Anything. Oh man, I'm losing the title of it right now.
If Anything Happens, I Love You.
If Anything Happens, I Love You. I shouted that out when we did our Oscar predictions. But a friend of mine's DeLon Warren, he worked on that film. It was a great short film, and he got to work on it. You can check that out on Netflix. Also, Two Distant Strangers, which I also predicted in our predictions. Won the live action short. I don't know if I predicted, but I recommended it. Also won best live action short. You can watch that on Netflix as well.
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant produced it. A bunch of people produced it. Van Lathan produced it. It was really, really dope. So definitely make sure you watch those.
It's on Netflix right now. It's 30 minutes long. Everyone should watch it.
And also the humanitarian awards too were also really dope. Shout out to them giving it to the organization for the healthcare workers. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I thought you were gonna talk about we're gonna do a whole dissertation on Tyler Perry.
No. Just say shout out to Tyler Perry for winning his humanitarian award too. So.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it. Obviously, tune in to First Cut for our Cuddy Awards. As Sabrina teased, we are doing our own award show where we make our own nominees. Tune in for that because it's gonna be a lot of fun. Sabrina, where can everyone find you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SabrinaXMonica, and also on Twitter at SabrinaOnFilm.
RB3.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Director RB3.
You can find me on Twitter at Squad Leader Race, and find us on Twitter at First Cut TMO. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. If this is your first time watching, please subscribe. Give this video a like. That'll help us a lot. Let us know what is your favorite winner in the comments down below, and tune in next time. Either way, guys, for the First Cut crew, we're peacing out. Peace.
Brittany, bitch.